And each time I learn the news, I react not as a president, but as anybody else would, as a parent. Anna, Dylan, Madeline. We mourn with you for the fallen. We join you in your grief. Catherine, Chase, Jesse. This will not change until the politics changes and the behavior of elected officials changes.
And so the White House now considering executive action on gun reform, something he has done before. Joining us now, presidential historian Julian Zelizer, and back with us, NBC contributor Jason Johnson, a politics editor for The Source magazine. Gentlemen, good morning. Thanks to both of you for being here. And Julian, is there anything the president can do differently this time around? I remember so vividly, particularly after Newtown, where there was this sense that something could change, something would be different, and nothing was. What do you make of where we are now with this issue?
Well, obviously, the option he has in front of him, which he's now talking about, is executive power. I don't think the situation on Capitol Hill has changed. This is what he's constantly frustrated about, the inability to move on gun control, even in the aftermath of shootings like this. So I think what he's done a little differently is been more explicit that he will use the power of the presidency, at least for the time he has remaining, to make some progress on this issue.
You know, one of the criticisms has been, Jason, that for someone who is such a great communicator, he did not develop relationships with members of Congress on the other side of the aisle, that in essence, these have been opportunities squandered. Do you believe that he has been able to do everything that he could in the wake of not just obviously this tragedy, but so many more before it?
Well, I think the problem is there has been this myth that President Obama didn't reach out well enough to people. But there was a great interview a couple weeks ago by John Boehner. Boehner said, look, Obama invited me to talk with him several times, but I got so much pushback from the right wing of my own party that I couldn't even go to lunch with the guy. I couldn't play golf with him. So I don't think it's that President Obama hasn't tried. I think there is a segment of the Republican Party and some of the Democratic Party that simply refuses to work with him and really are very wedded to Americans having guns. So I don't think this is something that could be fixed. And I think that's a shame and an embarrassment on both parties that we have these constant tragedies going on now mixed with terrorism, and all these smart people can't come up with a solution because of their personal political ideology.
Julian, why hasn't the president, why haven't members of Congress, why haven't these families who have been such really impressive advocates been able to get something passed that frankly, the wide public supports, like background checks?
Look, public opinion doesn't always win out in American politics. Public opinion right now is very favorable to some kind of gun control. It's been for a while. But in the House of Representatives, you have a Republican Party where there is a pretty strong faction that is against any kind of gun control. And they're hearing from their constituents in very red districts not to do this. And you have that combined with ambiguity in the Democratic Party. The NRA is very powerful, and there are many Democrats who have been lukewarm, not necessarily in their support for gun control, but in how much they're willing to really fight for it. So the president looks at Capitol Hill. He can schmooze all he wants. He can try to wheel and deal, but the opponents are not going to move on this issue. So I don't think public opinion can overcome the legislative dynamics of this issue.
Jason, there's a second part of this, and that is the disquiet. I think that's the word that FBI Director Comey used yesterday, that people feel in the wake of this attack, the concern that there is. And I think not just about the Muslim community in general, but this general sense of security after Paris and so on. What would you want to hear from the president? What role do you think he can play in calming the fears that both he and many of his top aides have acknowledged?
I need And I think most of America needs the president to do, believe it or not, I may be the only person that ever says this, do what Donald Trump does, okay? President Obama needs to validate these fears. I think all too often what he does is he says, yes, 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 I know you're scared, but look, we've got everything set. The president needs to spend more time telling people he understands and empathizes with why they're afraid after Paris, with why they're afraid after these situations, and then address what he is going to do down the road to fix these issues. And I think he leaps from the concerns that people have to his policy solutions way too quickly, and it leaves a lot of Americans feeling like he doesn't care or he's disconnected.
Jason Johnson, Julian Zelizer, thanks to both of you for being here.
Thanks so much.